everyone, welcome back to my kitchen that we are in today. I'm going to be doing a tutorial today. So if any of you guys are gamers out there, you have definitely heard of Fortnite. And if you play Fortnite, then you know that recently they released a new item in the game called a porta-fort. Here's the picture. It's really cool. I don't play, but my husband does, so he let me know about this and it's been all over Twitter. So we're gonna replicate the porta-fort. It is going to be a smaller cake. I'm doing it, it's basically just going to be a little block. I'm not doing a huge one, but you could always make it bigger. So what I've done so far is I have baked the cake pieces and I've cut them into little squares. They're supposed to be 4 inches by 4 inches, but these are not the same. So I'm going to have to trim them and make sure they're actually the same. The other thing I've done is I've made the icing already, which I've dyed it blue. Now what I'm going to do is I want to simple syrup these cakes. If you don't know what simple syrup is, it's basically equal parts sugar and water, and you basically sprinkle it over the cake so that it locks in moisture. And I'm going to experiment with something because I wanted to make a rum cake, but you can't really do that when you're decorating with fondant and stuff because the rum cake gets too squishy. So I'm going to try to incorporate rum into the simple syrup. So I'm going to replace half of the water with rum, and we're gonna see how that works out. I'll let you know if it's delicious or not. Alrighty, so I'm using a 1/2 cup measuring spoon and I got 2 of the sugar. And then I'm doing 1/2 cup of the rum, and then I will get 1/2 cup of water, and then I'm gonna let this boil. Oh, it's happening. Alright, so heat off. Oh, that smells straight up liquor. Alright, so now that's boiled. Now we leave it over here to cool. And then once it's cool, we're going to transfer it to my homemade showering system. Basically, I just put this over this and then rubber band, toothpick holes, done. Because I don't have one of those fancy things. And then we shower the cakes. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to layer these and make sure that they are all the same size. So I'm just trimming the edges. You might want to stand above your cake, that way you can look down at it, because as you can see, mine's kind of leaning a bit. Next thing, you're going to put a little bit of frosting on your cake board, just so that when you put the cake on there, it's going to be a bit more stationary. And I'm just going to layer it up and put some frosting between each layer. I ended up using only 3 layers because I realized when I tried to put 4 on, it was way too tall. So you can, just snack on the other ones, or you can have them as extra in case you mess up. Alright, so what I'm doing here is just covering the entire cake with icing. It's called a chrome coat, and I'm just putting that on. This will make when you put your actual coat of icing on easier. One thing I did forget to do is cut the corners off because the porta-fort has rounded corners. So you should do this actually beforehand, and that'll be great. Alright, so once that's done, you're going to put it in the fridge, and then we're going to work on the fondant. Now what I have here is cornstarch, and you're just going to flour I guess it would be called cornstarch your surface? I don't know. Put it on your surface. Get a bit of white, and then we're just going to work it just to get it so it's malleable. And then you're going to roll it out into a circular shape. You want to turn your fondant, that's what I'm doing. It's hard to see because my counters are white, but you're going to turn it every time you roll it. And then I'm using just a cup that worked size-wise. And I'm cutting out 6 circles. You only need 5, but I cut out 6 just in case. Once the cake is chilled, you're going to put on your second layer of frosting. So you're just going to put it all around it and try to get it as smooth as possible. Honestly, I didn't do too great of a job, but just work with what you have. Obviously, I'm not a master baker. Alright, so once you're done with this layer of frosting, you're just going to put it in the fridge for at least 20 minutes. Next, we're going to work on the little symbols that go on the outside of the porta-fort.
I have used here royal blue food coloring gel, and I just mix it with some clear vodka. It's not necessarily food grade, I just got the cheap stuff, don't judge me. And so you just mix this together to get the color that you want. You want a dark blue on the outside and a light blue on the inside. After the fact, I realized that the colors could have been a little darker, so I would keep the actual image next to you while you're doing this, just so that you get it exactly the way you want it. You're going to do that to 5. Like I said, I did 6 just in case I messed up, but I actually stopped at 5. Now to create the actual fort image on the side of the porta-fort, I'm just cutting out a piece of white fondant. I'm going to cut it into a rectangle and then cut the little strips out of it using a straight edge like so. I think they were probably about 1/4 centimeter wide. If you look at the image of the fort on the side, you'll just get a basic idea of what shape it needs to be, and that's what I'm just doing here. I'm just looking at the image and recreating the shape.
Oh, that for that.
Alright, next we need to create the gray. So I have some white fondant, I'm mixing it with a little bit of black, and you're just going to work it in, pulling it like a taffy, and just work it in until it gets the color gray that you want it. Alright, so once you're happy with the color, you're going to roll it out into a circle. It needs to be obviously big enough to cover your cake, so you're going to use a roller to determine that. Now, what I did in this, I accidentally did things out of order, so you should do this right before you cover it. I let mine sit out too long, and so when I do this magical transfer here to the cake, you can see I have a bit of trouble stretching it out over the actual cake, and the reason is because I let it dry out too long. So it's really important that you do this right away, because your fondant becomes less flexible and much harder to deal with. And here I'm just kind of trying to patch up my mistakes, because I did not have enough fondant to start over. And quite frankly, I didn't want to because I was tired. So lessons learned, don't let your fondant dry out. Do it right away. I'm just gonna wing it and just keep going, just keep trekking along here, but just know that when you make yours, it'll probably come out better. Okay, it is time to stick the circles on. So I have a paintbrush and I've got magical water that makes it stick. If you don't know, fondant sticks. It basically gets sticky when you put water on it. So that's all it is. Just put some water, stick them on. To make the little screws that go on the edges, I'm just basically using a piping tip and cutting out little circles on some leftover gray fondant, and then I'm using my spatula to kind of make a cross in the middle to make a Phillips screw, and I'm just sticking them on with that magical water again. The last detail is just it has this little circle, broken circle looking thing that I'm just carving in with the knife.
Yay, we did it! Okay, so it's not, you know, the best cake that I've ever made, but it's not bad for a first try, okay? Don't look at that. Look at that and that. Not bad. Anyway, if you guys do this, I'm sure you'll do better, because there was a lot of lessons learned and different things to do just differently next time. So I'm sure you guys will do better. If you make this cake, let me know in the comments, or find me on Instagram. I'll put my Instagram in the description below, down there. So, thank you guys for watching. If you make it, let me know. And if you play Fortnite, I hope you guys win all of your games. Unless you're facing my husband, then I hope he wins. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!